Our very first story, an Accra Circuit Court has sentenced former Takoradi-based medical practitioner Dr. Sule Ali Gabas to 25 years in prison. Dr. Gabas was standing trial for defiling a child under 16 years and having a natural carnal knowledge of him. The medical doctor was arrested in October last year after an expose by Joy News' Manasseh Azuriawene. My colleague Kwacha Afrenioma followed proceedings in court today and filed this report.
In the 2-hour ruling, presiding judge Rita Ajimambudu said the prosecution had proven beyond reasonable doubt that Dr. Ali Gabas is guilty of defilement. According to the circuit court judge, the state attorneys again convinced the court beyond doubt that the victim was below 16 years when the incident occurred. In the court's view, even in the absence of a birth certificate, the academic and school records presented by the lawyers for the victim was enough. Striking out the second charge of unnatural carnal knowledge, Justice Ajimambudu explained that the first count of defilement, among others, embodies the same offense. Dr. Gabas, upon hearing this, fell down instantly in excitement, but his joy was short-lived. The court handed him the maximum sentence. This was despite a strong argument by his lawyers for a lesser sentence to be handed down, citing the recent legislation of homosexuality in the United States. Human rights lawyer Francis Osu says the ruling symbolizes victory for the rule of law.
The case of Dr. Ali Gabas is a landmark case which needs to send messages out there to everyone that no one is above the law. If you are found culpable or if you are in conflict with the law and the state is able to prove your guilt beyond reasonable doubt, you will face the full rigors of the law.
A lawyer for Dr. Gabas, Fix Zenowu, however, disagrees.
I was surprised by the ruling of the court. I believe the court should have given them, something below the 25 years, since he's a first offender. It's not known to the law. He hasn't committed such an offense before, and we believe it's on the high side. Taking into consideration the fact that he's a medical officer, and then society will need him, I believe the sentence should have been, on the lower side.
Legal representatives for Dr. Gabas have, however, begun processes to appeal the ruling. Kwache Afrenioma for Joy News.
I've saved my country well. I'm not yes.
Meanwhile, Executive Director of NGO Child Rights International, Bright Appiah, is asking the state to, as a matter of urgency, begin a process that will rehabilitate and reintegrate the victim in the Ali Gabas trial into society. The child rights activist believes the ruling does not in any way provide for the victim's future.
There's a need for us to protect the child. And when it comes to the welfare of children, it is the state that lead the process in terms of how we will do it, so that individuals can also contribute to that. So the state still owes the child some level of responsibility by providing and supporting the child. And if the state thinks that leaving the child in society will pose some danger to him, then I think that in the wisdom of it, they would advise in terms of how they want to do it. But there are so many processes that you need to go through to do that, because the growth of every child, the Constitution provides that it must be in the natural environment of the child. So if the parents are alive and we think that we can guarantee the security of the child in that environment, why not? The state would also commit the child into the hands of the parent. So those are the processes that we have to see. But if we cannot guarantee the safety of the child in that environment, then of course we need to take the child from that environment and provide an environment that will be safe for the child. But I know that within this period, a lot of things will go on. So security is very, very important, and also maintenance and rehabilitation must also take place. And I think that if we get the opportunity and the parent of the child is willing to do that, why not? We would do it, because the safety of the child at this critical moment is very, very important.
Ms. Appiah also says it will be better if the family of the convicted doctor have a change of environment, as this will not inure to the benefit of his children. In other news, the Christian Council, in related development, the Christian Council of Ghana is asking that President Mahama reiterate where Ghana stands as far as homosexuality is concerned. The call comes at a time the pro-gay movement appears to be gaining grounds around the world, especially following the recent legalization of gay marriages in all states in the U.S. General Secretary of the Council, Reverend Dr. Kwabna Opuni Frimpong, is worried nations such as the U.S., which support Ghana in various forms, could use that to bait government to adopt same-sex marriages.
When it happens like that, and such nations are your key partners, you only must also take a position and let your people know, you know, that fine, these people are still our friends, nothing has changed in terms of our bilateral relationship. However, if we get to this point, we part, because this is not part of us. And we have a history to that effect, that our former President, Professor Mills, may he rest in peace, and he set the parameters for us that we as a people cannot go that way. And even if it happens that somebody wants to play same-sex card as a condition for support, whatever form, loan, donation, he, then president, will not accept it. And there may be a need for affirmation that as a policy statement and policy direction, nothing has changed. So the current administration, and with the recent development in US, may need to come out to affirm the former administration and the former president direction that we have not changed anything. For us, we don't have history of same-sex marriages. We don't have a reference point. From north to south, there's not a single ethnic group that can tell you that my paramount chief, our paramount queen mother has ever done that. These are people who must give us example. And among Akans, Evers, Gans, Fantis, go to the North Kokomba, you can't have a single ethnic group in Ghana that has that history. And if that is the fact, then we must just find a way of convincing our young people that fine, maybe elsewhere they want to go that way, but for us as Gans, for us as Evers, and that is why traditional leaders and politicians and pastors and Muslims, we must all come together.
A lot of people travel to America, for instance. We learn different things when we travel. We can decide not to accept it here, but people will come out of such places and still influence us, if you like.
Mama, we should not give impression that everybody in the US approves what is happening. There are many, at least the Supreme Court ruling, there was a split. It wasn't unanimous, you know, and there are churches in US that are splitting. It's not like I have been in a church that somebody did not in Germany, that I won't take a communion from a pastor who approves same-sex marriages. There are people who are worried. It's not everybody in US, including even Ghanaians who are there, that approve it. So let's have that in mind. And it is true, we must still, now we live in global village. We must learn from other people. Now we have access, tablet, mobile phone, computer. There are so many things, and we should learn and we should improve. But we must learn things that will advance development, things that will improve, things that will make life better. If there's anything that will set us backwards, we should be worried about.
Fuel prices are set to go down this week in line with the price liberalization policy currently being implemented. Players in the sector are expected under the policy to announce their own prices with very little influence from the National Petroleum Authority. The sharp depreciation of the local currency was cited as the main reason for the last increase in fuel prices 2 weeks ago. The cedi has since gained significantly, which means the fuel prices should move accordingly. George Riafi joins me in the studio with some analysis on this issue. So good evening to you, George. Now, so first of all, let's start off with where we are now. We're told that the fuel prices are likely to go down, or are going down. Actually.
They are going down, Israel, but the argument now is what will be the magnitude? Because of the price liberalization that you spoke about earlier on, every individual player, be it the marketing company or the importer, is now allowed to set their own price. So the difficulty now will be the magnitude. But speak to all the players, from the regulator to the importer to the marketer to the dealer. They are saying that it is coming on, because what we are using to price our product is more of a forward rate. And for us, engaging our analysts, speaking to our bankers, they are telling us that cedi is going to drop going forward, and therefore we are even buying at a cheaper rate with respect to the dollar that we're using, and therefore it just makes sense for us to actually reduce the price when it comes to selling it to the final consumer, that is you, when you drive to the service station.
Now, so what's the reduction we're looking at?
When you engage the importers and then the marketers, the importers and the bulk distributors, that is the importers, or let me say the transporters, that is Trafigura, Sahara, and then the BDCs, they are saying you're looking at between 15% to about 22% reduction in prices of petroleum products.
Have they been able to firm, something up? Because earlier on, I'm told they were in some form of a meeting.
Yeah, they were in some meetings today, so maybe by tomorrow we might get a better picture on what has been agreed on. But that would be the bar, because of the fact that the NPA is allowing individual oil marketing companies. We are told that they have about 87 of them. So just imagine, and each individual oil marketing company is going to decide on how should we price our product. That is when it comes to petrol, diesel, kerosene, LPG, and all those things. So that's the difficulty now. But what we can confirm now is that expect a huge reduction in price of petroleum products. And what we're also hearing from these OMCs is that going forward, maybe from next month, they're going to do a weekly review. Because of the way the city is behaving, you cannot even forecast or plan. Anybody who tells you that I'm getting it right with my figures when it comes to the cedi, well, they are all getting it wrong, Israel.
So all right, so since you mentioned the cedi, let's stay on the cedi.
All right.
Because it's really because of the appreciation or the gains made by the cedi that we're talking about. We're anticipating a full price reduction. So what's happening to the cedi right now?
Israel, when you engage, and let me stick to, when you engage the treasurers, those who work in the banks and all those things, they tell you that the initial problem was a supply issue. The fact that there wasn't enough dollars on the market. Something changed overnight. The Bank of Ghana decided to meet the commercial banks and told them that going forward, we are going to be very, very active on the market, as in releasing dollars. So there was enough dollars on the market. And then also, don't forget that for the speculators or for those who cash in on the depreciation, they saw that looking at the fact that the Bank of Ghana is releasing more dollars onto the market, and the fact that going forward, when the euro bond money should come in, if it was successful, when the cocoa loan syndication about $2.5 billion, we're looking at $1.5 billion for the euro bond. We're also looking at IMF money coming in. We're also looking at the World Bank funds coming in, and then the EU funds. They're looking at about $4.5 billion spread over a 3 to 4 month period. So the fact is that they will be available, Forex will be available for the bank, from the Bank of Ghana's reserves to release onto the market.
Excess supply.
So for these speculators or those who were hoarding the dollars, they thought that it doesn't make sense to keep on holding onto the dollars, because for those who are projecting and forecasting, the Bank of Ghana might have enough reserves to release onto the market.
There's also been this issue about the fact that there was this announcement from the Bank of Ghana that it was going to inject $20 million into the market every day. And so there are those who are saying that people saw that and felt that, okay, if the Bank of Ghana is injecting, there's no point in me holding on to
You're right, Israel. And it's interesting because it tells you that whether the depreciation was basically due to excess demand fueled by those who wanted to hold on to these dollars and then cash in. I know somebody who went to buy it at 4.1 Ghana cedis, about $100,000. Now, he had to rush last week because it was dropping at 3.5. Now, look at what this person had lost because of this depreciation or appreciation in the cedi's value. So there was a lot of individuals out there who were just cashing in on
now
this.
There's also those who say that this $20 million injection by the Bank of Ghana every day really was supposed to, have this effect. That scare people or throw
and tell them that the Bank of Ghana is available,
when really they are not actually injecting.
Well, Israel, I can confirm that for the first 3 to 4 days, the Bank of Ghana was active on the market, but we don't know as we speak right now because there were even some commercial banks who told the bank that we don't need your dollars because we even have enough in our vault. So we rather want to sell to you. Israel, another interesting thing that is happening is that there were some commercial banks who were also cashing in on this. and looks like their fingers have started burning
burnt.
already.
Okay.
And so they are now being forced to quickly go out there and sell these dollars to the Bank of Ghana because they might need it for their reserves.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much, George. We have another gain in the cedi may not necessarily boost investor confidence. As currency analysts are skeptical, the Bank of Ghana measure to save the cedi are ad hoc. The cedi to a dollar is trading at 350 pesos as of today, Monday, July 13, according to Interbank Foreign Exchange Market Quotes. Currency analyst Derek Mensah tells Joy Business investor confidence is still low.
I think that if the central bank comes in with a proper plan, roll it out, and we know it's addressing all the issues fairly and squarely, then investors are going to have more confidence. I talk to international investors a lot, and I can say from a scale of 10 investors that I talk to in a day, or probably let's say you talk to 40 or 50 in a week, so far it's just about 2 that think that things are turning constructive. The bulk still feel like you guys are way off. So just on that knowledge, investors are long-term as well. So in as much as the short-term is good, they are thinking, well, this thing can be over in about 2 or 3 months, and then we are back to where we are. So I think that the plan is to address all those bits and pieces.
Nice. Former presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Pakwesi Indom, must sharply criticize groups which observed the recent by-election attacks in the Upper East region for failing to highlight the violence that was witnessed and rather suggesting all was well. Addressing a news conference on the Talensi by-election and its fallouts, Dr. Indom also faulted the Electoral Commission's conduct of the polls.
I have a responsibility to my family, to my customers, business customers, my business partners, to be a responsible Ghanaian. That's why I don't allow Progressive People's Party people to do what other people allow their party members to do. Some of us also know how to buy guns, how to get bows and arrows. We know where poor, hungry, and desperate people are, who don't care what happens to them today because they know that, well, there's nothing there. We know where, if we want them, where we can go and get thousands of them. So if some people think that they can raise an Azoka army or Bolga bulldogs, what happens if those of us who have disciplined ourselves so far also decide to raise an army of sea lions for counterattack? What happens if we do that? Because we can do it. What happens if the people who have been suffering silently decide that enough is enough? So if in 2012 my small 1,200 votes, you change it and you make it 300, and I was silent. If you go and do it to me again next time, and I decide that, your 2 million, you want to come and take my 1,000, and I decide that I will resist, and I will resist violently, then what will happen to this country? So it's not those people who are keeping this country safe. They are not the ones who are maintaining the stability. It is those of us, the silent sufferers. We know we can buy thousands of guns, can buy thousands of ammunition, we can bring thousands of people to also fight, but we choose not to. Remember that. We choose not to. We are senselessly deluding ourselves that we are in a democracy, that there is freedom of choice, and that elections are free and fair in Ghana. The unfairness in Ghana's elections starts way before the actual elections. Then it continues to election day. And yes, election observers are well-meaning, but they have become another element of cover-up for stealing and bribery. If you had been at Talensi, you would have known. Yes, election observers, they went there, and in the end, they said, oh, the election was free and fair. Free and fair to whom? And where? Where was the free? Where was the fair? We have an EC that is election-focused and is also behind times. Otherwise, why is the EC still encouraging the use of party polling agents when they do not exist in advanced economies? The new chairman of the Electoral Commission must bring this important institution into the 21st century and make it stronger by enforcing the laws that it is supposed to work with.
So the West African Network for Peace Building, Chukwu Emeka Eze, has condemned the decision of the Progressive People's Party to form a vigilante group. The party's threat follows accusations of bias raised against election observers at the recently held Talenti by-election. But speaking on the Pulse on Joy News, Mr. Eze said PPP's formation of a vigilante group is misplaced.
The fact that what they are condemning it and little seems to be done, it doesn't make it much right if they also go ahead and recruit, just to balance what others are doing. So I'm thinking that PPP should show the example by mobilizing the citizens to stand up to what they consider to be wrong, and also focusing their campaign on what they think is the right thing, which is that they will come out clean to prosecute their electoral process using what they consider to be their manifesto, rather than intimidating others just because others are, no matter the level they go, that is right. As a civil society organization, we are looking for opportunities to condemn this. We are going to place the discussion at the table of all the political actors, and then we are going to look for ways to deal with it.
An Accra resident frustrated by the poor roads in her community is suing her district assembly in a bid to get her roads done. Lawyer Margaret Champong of the Teshinungwa Estate says the Lejokuku-Krowa municipality has largely failed to execute its responsibility of fixing the roads, even though she has honored her tax obligations. Joy News' Adelaide Arthur has more.
The plaintiff, Margaret Champong, is unhappy about the poor state of the road leading to her home in Teshinungwa Estate, where she has lived since 1970. The Oleander Street in particular has developed several potholes, which she says makes driving stressful. Since 2 initial warning letters from her were ignored by the Lejokuku-Krowa Municipal Assembly, she turned to the court for redress, filing a suit at the High Court against the Assembly on December 4, 2014.
In fact, when I filed the writ, their lawyer thought he could get out of it by using technicalities. So the first process he filed to court was that they should strike out the case because I didn't go according to section 127 of Act 462, which means that you have to give the assembly notice, 1 month notice, before you can sue them. And we went, and the judge told him that there are letters showing that I warned them way back in 2013 and 2014. So what does it mean? So his application was struck out. So it was only last Friday that was served with their defense. And their defense they filed is that it's a question of they don't have the mandates. They are doing it. According to them, they are doing. I'll give you a copy. They are saying that they are filling potholes and doing all kinds of things. It's a question of time, and they are doing it with scanty, resources. So I should exercise patience to get to my turn. But I don't know how long I can wait. I'm 72, and to be always pandoing every morning and evening, and if I have to walk, then I have to do hop, step, and jump to be able to walk through here. I don't know how long I can last. Moreover, my car is being affected.
Apart from the road repairs, Margaret, who is acting for herself in court, is also seeking relief of 50,000 Ghana cedis for the emotional stress she has suffered as a result of the bad roads. Margaret expects city authorities to perform their duties satisfactorily so far as she pays all taxes demanded of her.
The normal behavior of our rulers these days is for them to only make themselves comfortable at our expense. Because if I pay money to you, I expect that you should also render service to me, and that service is not coming. In fact, property rates, we have no way of knowing. They just keep on increasing. Every year they increase. They don't tell us. All that they do is to increase and bring it. And as a law-abiding person, I pay it. Now, when I pay, I expect you also in turn to also render service to me, and we are not getting that.
She heads back to court on Tuesday, July 21, where she expects the court to pass judgment on admission.
Once their defense shows that is saying that they admit that they owe that responsibility, but they are doing it, they are only constrained by resources. Okay. There's no point in going through the whole trial.
Oh, okay.
So I'm filing a motion for judgment on admission.
The roads manager of the assembly was not immediately available for comment, but the fact still remains that only 20% of the 517 kilometers road network in the municipality is tarred.
We're taking a break at this point. When we come back, we bring you business with Abigail Adumakwenchi.
My name is Abigail Adumakwenchi, and we'll start with something on the ADB, as the Ghana Stock Exchange has confirmed the interim injunction on the ADB IPO. In a statement released by the exchange, it says, subject to an order of interim injunction filed by the Union of Industry, Commerce and Finance of TUC, Ghana, to the High Court of Justice, the Agricultural Development Bank Limited ADB has announced a temporary halt of its IPO process. The general public, ADB, Standard Chartered Bank and all licensed dealing members of the Ghana Stock Exchange are required to put on hold all activities in relation to the ADB IPO process, including but not limited to the receipt of offer subscriptions. It adds that all ADB offer applications and payments received prior to this temporary injunction will remain valid until otherwise determined by ADB. The Ghana Stock Exchange is meanwhile eager to see ADB come onto the boards. The Ghana Stock Exchange Managing Director Kofi Yamwa says listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange is a must for ADB, describing the controversies surrounding the initial public offering as unfortunate.
Place. I, in principle, felt that there was no basis for that court issue, because there are examples in this market of companies that have come the same background as ADB who didn't go to Parliament for approval to say. We have the example of GCB Bank, we have the example of PBC, and so forth. It's based on a 1993 Act, Statutory Corporations Act, which converted many of these companies into public limited liability companies. And so that act gave power to the Minister for Finance to see those companies through in terms of going public and registering the companies as public limited liability companies. And so I felt that ADB was just following through what happened. Like I said, we could have avoided that, but at the end of it all, we're happy that we are at this point. We wish them great success as far as the public offer is concerned, and hopefully the general public will participate massively in that IPO.
Away from ADB matters, with about 500 tricycles ready to be distributed at a cost to youths between the ages of 20 and 25, Microfinance and Small Loan Center Maslock hopes to create jobs for the unemployed youth. At a partnership program between GIHOC and Maslock, Chief Executive of Maslock, Sedina Tamaklo, tells Joy Business, all you need is 1,000 cedis deposit and the tricycle is yours.
The Microfinance and Small Loan Center, Maslock, in partnership with GIHOC Distilleries, launched the about 500 tricycles Monday. The tricycles are expected to create jobs for the unemployed youth between the ages of 20 and 25. Chief Executive of Maslock, Sedina Tamaklo Ationu, tells Joy Business the entire project cost about 4 million cedis, but is excited the partnership will be beneficial to the youth. She explains how it works.
People are not purchasing outright, so you have a deposit payment depending on how long you want to take the tricycle for. We have a 6-month period, we have a 12-month, we have 18 months, and then 24 months. But basically the deposit is anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 Ghana cedis, depending on which period you want. And a monthly installment of about 500, I think between 500 and 1,000, depending on the period and how long you want to take it for. The partnership is that we are financing the product. GIHOC is providing the guarantees, and bringing on the beneficiaries. So basically, GIHOC has a flat guarantee. So if they bring a beneficiary and the beneficiary doesn't pay, GIHOC is going to pay us.
But chairman for GIHOC, Adekoka, says though this is their first partnership with Maslock, they are hopeful of a fruitful relations.
We are hoping to get about 500 of these vehicles in the system. You know, by that you can go countrywide, and more so our drinks will be sold. So we've got a lot of capacity within our establishment. So we need to, and then to do export as well beyond Ghana. To have to look beyond Ghana. So this is a beginning for bigger things to come on board.
Maslock in 2010 presented tricycles to selected youths in the northern region as part of measures of creating jobs in the region. The tricycles, which were given to the beneficiaries at the cost of 12.8 million cedis to be repaid in 4 years' time, were largely used as taxis to help reduce the transportation difficulties in the Tamale metropolis.
Businessman and former presidential candidate Dr. Pakosi Indium has sharply criticized his colleague business owners with political links who he says have chosen to invest their monies outside Ghana, explaining such politicians do not have the country at heart. Dr. Indium, who owns a business group with interests in several sectors of the economy, says such politicians are the ones who often fuel political strife, knowing very well they have nothing to lose should there be civil war. He advised businesses to be mindful of the political scene.
Well, it is not because I am not capable of competing boot by boot. That's not it. I have invested my sweat, my emotions, my everything in Ghana. Some people, when they get some money, it flies away to be put somewhere else. Whether it's in Germany or in France or Switzerland or wherever, or America, it goes away to be hidden safely in a country where other people have made safe. And they stay here and cause problems. I haven't done that. Mine is visible right here in Ghana. And I have a responsibility to my family, to my customers, business customers, my business partners, to be a responsible Ghanaian. Well, I'm saying if you're a business person, I suggest that you brace yourself from right now for a rough 2017 if there's going to be a repeat of this experience. Because what the politicians do, those professional politicians, what they do, it affects you. It affects everybody.
That'll be all for business. My name is Abigail Adumakoinchi. Keep abreast with business news on myjoyonline.com.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed a new defense chiefs after sacking the heads of the Army, Navy and Air Force. The sackings were expected as the president has repeatedly criticized the military's inability to defeat Islamist group Boko Haram. Both the new head of the Army, Major General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, and the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mongono, are from Borno State, which is at the heart of the conflict. The new military chiefs will be expected to work closely with neighbors Chad, Cameroon and Niger as they join forces to tackle Boko Haram. The Somali government has submitted its dispute with Kenya over their sea border to the International Court of Justice. The disputed ocean territory stretches for more than 100,000 square kilometers. Tests have shown potential reserves of gas in the area. The dispute has been going on for the last 6 years, keeping investors away because of a lack of legal clarity over who owns potential offshore oil and gas reserves. Somalia wants the maritime border to continue along the line of the land border to the southeast, while Kenya wants the sea border to go in a straight line east. That'll be all for the bulletin. Before we go a quick run through our top stories, the Takrady-based medical doctor in the infamous gay trial, Dr. Ali Gabas, has been handed a 25-year sentence for defilement. The Christian Council is meanwhile demanding that President Mahama reiterates Ghana's stance on homosexuality as was pronounced by the late President Mills. The Progressive People's Party has criticized observer groups for failing to highlight violence perpetrated by vigilante groups during the recent by-election at Talensi in the Upper East region, and is threatening to unleash its own vigilante group. Fuel prices are set to go down significantly this Wednesday following impressive gains made by the local currency, the Ghana.Video, against the US dollar. And the initial public offer of Agricultural Development Bank has been suspended following the court action by the workers' union. That'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Israelite. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good evening.
This is Joy News Prime.